It's the Security Weekly News. It is Friday, the 9th of January, 2026, and it's episode 545. So happy New Year. And today we've got Nudification, spying, Ni8mare, Cisco, Chat-GPT, Chrome, SaaS, CES, Josh Marpet, and more on this episode of the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Ever feel like your network infrastructure is stuck in the past? Meet 8mare, the company reimagining what it means to get and stay online. 8mare delivers full-stack networking, wired, wireless, and cellular, all in one seamless, scalable, and secure solution. From hardware design and firmware to software, deployment, and support, 8mare streamlines every part of your network while giving you all the control and transparency you need. Whether you're managing a branch office, retail stores, or a massive data center, 8mare gives you performance, reliability, and the visibility you need to stay in control. Thanks to 8mare for sponsoring. Go to securityweekly.com/8mare to book a demo now. That's securityweekly.com/8mare, METER. Zero trust is clearly the future as threats get faster, quieter, and harder to detect, but implementing it shouldn't disrupt the business. ThreatLocker enforces default deny at execution in a way that remains enterprise-ready, scalable, and operationally clean. Unknown software is stopped cold, trusted apps stay contained, and drift is locked down across the environment. It's zero trust that works in real enterprises and prepares you for the threats ahead. See why CISOs are adopting it at securityweekly.com/threatlocker. All right, I'm Doug White, and it's the Security Weekly News. Hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment button. Because I said so. That's why. I don't care what Mark lets you do when you're at Mark's house. If you want to go live with Mark, go ahead. But when you're in my house, you hit the like, subscribe, and leave a comment button. All right. I did want to say that I will be at RSAC this year. I'll also be at Zero Trust World. That's coming up in March. And I hope you'll be there too. Security Weekly listeners save $100 on their RSAC 2026 All Access Pass. The RSAC 2026 conference will take place March 23rd to March 26th in San Francisco. So to register using our discount code, please visit securityweekly.com/RSAC26 and use the code 56U5SEC Weekly. Might have an exclamation point at the end. Not sure. Try it. Try it either way. We hope to see you in San Francisco. 8mare, spelled with an 8. So it sounds like an EDM song or something, like 8mare by Daft Punk, but in this case, it's a 10 out of 10 vulnerability. You get a few of those here and there. This particular vulnerability will allow the worst possible scenario. A remote, unauthenticated attacker can take control over locally deployed instances of the Ni8n workflow automation platform. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really get any worse than that, right? I mean, the only thing worse than that would be like if it had bees with it or something. Like they can do all that and there's bees. So Sierra says that there are more than 100,000 vulnerable N8N. I don't know how to say that. Nathan, N8N. I don't know. I'm probably just going to say N8N. But anyway, I hope you didn't expose your N8N server, but you probably did, right? Because you part of this is an actual website, but anyway, I don't know, 6, 7, that kind of thing. But anyway, I don't know how the Hepcats say it today with their berets and their dark glasses, but here at the rest home, I say N8N. So you don't like it, call your cousin to come pick you up. And next time, bring some old gold cigarettes and Tanqueray instead of those Fig Newtons you brought. Anyway, N8N is an open source workflow automation tool, which allows users to connect apps, APIs, services, and so forth into workflows via a visual editor. So it's just, you drag everything in there and it then automates all those tasks. And its big feature, of course, currently is that it integrates a lot of that into LLMs, which is a great feature and also a terrifying feature. It currently has over 50,000 weekly downloads on NPM, and it has more than 100 million pulls on Docker Hub. Like that's more than we get, so basically, the attacker can get access to the files on the server by running certain workflows. So they basically have to push this in and have it save files onto your servers, and and Bob's your uncle. So the dev said there is no workaround. So that, they just basically said, yeah, I don't know. And they did say you can mitigate this by restricting or disabling publicly accessible webhooks and form endpoints. Of course, the best solution is the obvious one, which is you can upgrade to the latest version, and that, of course, fixes it, and don't expose them. I was just making a class lecture yesterday about how to isolate a web server using a VPN. So, you really don't necessarily want the public to be able to do your workflows. And if you've got people out there that are doing them remotely, have them use a VPN. So do all of it though. Patch it, isolate it, pop, drag, stare, toe and slide, pelvic thrust, patch, isolate, jazz hands. I could be a choreographer. Maybe. It would probably be bad, right?
Keep your day job. Keep your day job.
I was thinking about it, like, just the other day, I was like, I could just give all this up and be a choreographer on Broadway. Jazz. All right. My old pal Cisco, their switches are experiencing something I haven't heard of in a long time, but I'm terrified of: reboot loops. Yeah, I remember some of those in the past, but oh my God. Basically, what it does is it logs fatal DNS client errors and then just reboots. Apparently, at around 2 a.m. yesterday, a firmware problem that was in the internal DNS client service started treating DNS lookup failures as fatal errors, which caused the device to reboot repeatedly. According to the report, the reboot cycle repeats every few minutes, which, as you might guess, can put a damper on the old network. Um, and considering how long it takes a Cisco switch to boot and clear all the switch ports with STP or VTP or whatever you're using, that could get a little ugly. But the bug apparently is in a whole range of switch models. They had a whole list there, none of mine, because mine are so old that, they just do random things anyway. But the report says that all the failures began right around the same time across lots of different networks, which would imply that somebody triggered this thing, or it was some kind of time-based condition or something. So it was a little bit scary, I guess. Cisco has yet to release anything about this, as far as I know, as of when I wrote this. But a temporary workaround included disabling DNS resolution, disabling SMTP, or disabling time sync and blocking outbound internet access from switch management interfaces. Now, I mean, I guess disable DNS on the switch until there's a patch, because it shouldn't really be that big of a deal, because switches can have an IP address on a VLAN, but they wouldn't normally be involved in the DNS process. I mean, except their own. So unless you're using your switches to play Fortnite or something, that would be funny. But I mean, switch cases are bad. And this is sort of my own personal bailiwick, but I saw one where they compromised the switch and set all the switch ports to go on and off with a timer. I mean, it was like you could schedule switch ports, and they would just go on and off at random, and then people would call in, and while they were on the phone, it would come back up, and then people go, okay, it's working now. And then by the time they hung up, it would, then they could get back in the queue and call again. Switches were the last thing this place thought of. I mean, literally, they called me and asked me if I had any ideas, and I was like, "What all of you checked?" And they were like, "Oh, we did this and this and this and this and this, and we checked all the wiring, and we made sure." And I was like, "Did you check the switches?" And they were like, "Why? What could anybody do to a switch?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Crazy. OpenAI reported they have fixed an issue in Chat-GPT, which might have allowed an attacker to exfiltrate sensitive information from Chat-GPT chats or connected services via an indirect prompt injection, according to Radware. The information could have been exposed either on a server side, I guess that means OpenAI could read it, or through Chat-GPT's ability to open and browse links, or via the user's browser. Oh, yeah. So this was very similar to the shadow leak proof of concept attack, which was pretty recent as well. In the shadow leak one, the attacker appended all the data to the end of a link on a controlled domain that was theirs. And basically what happened then was when ChatGPT tried to go to a link, it attached all the information to the, to that interaction. And that way they got it all. So it was just like tagged onto the end of a link. And yeah. So OpenAI prevented ChatGPT from modifying URLs in response to Shadow Leak. But this new one gets around that by providing a whole series of pre-constructed URLs that somehow allows it to attach this information as well. The latest proof of concept got called Zombie Agent, and it uses connectors, which are the terrifying optional features that allow ChatGPT pretty much access to everything. So Gmail, Outlook, Google Drive, GitHub, your car, your toaster, your great aunt Ida, whatever. Just like give it, full reign. It's like, I'm closing the pod bay doors, Dave. That kind of thing. I mean, just turn it over, like, why not? And, you bet. But the memory feature in ChatGPT was involved in this as well. And the memory feature, if you're not familiar, allows ChatGPT to remember specific information from conversations you've already had, which would allow it to be referenced in other conversations. So you go, remember the other day, ChatGPT, when we were talking about like balloon animal porn? And it will go, yes, I do remember that. Unlike Claude, who doesn't remember anything. Claude, you're just like, hi, Claude. Like, do you remember when we were doing this whole big thing yesterday and I burned down all the forests in North America in order to ask this question about how to set this up on the VM50? And Claude's like, nope, I sure don't, but we could do it all again because, hey, there's more forest to burn. But anyway, the attacker hides malicious instructions in emails, sends them to the victim, and then they can embed them in files as well. So the old StarTrek.com trick. But somehow the victim gets the malicious instructions. The instructions get ChatGPT to store the malicious instructions as memory. And then if the victim accesses the memory, ChatGPT will follow those instructions instead or in addition to. And that allows it to retrieve things from conversations or connectors. And remember, what all did you connect to ChatGPT? Oh, your email? Yeah, your medical records? You bet. And then they can exfiltrate all this stuff because it follows these pre-built URLs. This has been fixed in ChatGPT, according to OpenAI. But just remember, as we pour our entire lives into various AIs, remember that Windows 11 came out in 2021. That's more than 4 years ago. And it was actually in December of 2025. Or, I'm sorry, that was about 5 years ago. In December of 2025, 5 years later, 3 0 days were patched. 0 days. 41 0 days were patched in 2025. So, how many 0 days are out there in the LLMs? Not to mention, can somebody just talk the LLM into doing something? Like, hey, Chatty, go over there and pour this bucket of half-frozen pig intestines on Claude while he's asleep. Claude, covered in stinking goo, suddenly causes all the doors to slam shut and a fire starts. Wait, I think that's Carrie. Sorry, Stephen King. I don't want you after me. But regardless, consider this as a place you might want to start thinking about your policy to just dump your whole server into ChatGPT and tell it to run the company for a day or so while you go to Monarch because they just got 10 inches of fresh powder. It'll be fine. You bet. Remember, I'm closing the pod bay doors, Hal. Or I'm closing the pod bay doors, Dave. You remember that movie. Maybe you should watch it again because it's going to give you some guidance. Well, as we also move everything in our lives slowly into the mysterious cloud and cancel our IBM Z10 lease and push the data storage into the cloud, license our software for Mr. Fong's 24/7 cloud SaaS word processing company, and subscribe to yet another AI LLM so that we're all saying things like, hey, Sheila, could you have Alicia ask Claude to turn the TV volume up one notch? And, oh, yeah, you know what else, Sheila? Have ChatGPT contact Mr. Spacely and write a strongly worded yet chillingly polite letter demanding a raise. And have Gemini contact DoorDash to have them deliver some more gin because we're running low. I mean, we get more dependent on this stuff and this incredibly complex mesh of events every day. I mean, just think about that in terms of your enterprise or your personal life. You have a Wi-Fi enabled toilet that has the intelligence level of your average middle schooler, that relies on an LLM to make the decision whether or not to flush a little or flush a lot. You know how like German toilets have two buttons. You get the little button and the big button. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, all this stuff is running over a user-supported Wi-Fi network connected to a cable modem to Bob's Discount ISP, routers, switches, who knows what all, till it gets to a big brain located in Shanghai. And then a ladybug lands on a sensor in Potsdam, New York, shuts down the core router there, causing the entire eastern seaboard to lose connectivity right when you were stepping out of the bathroom at your new girlfriend's house, and you hear, "Large flush aborted. Please try again later. Connectivity insecure." Yeah, you can just imagine that scenario. Well, anyway, according to this article, cloud and SaaS, software as a service, risks rose in 2025. Imagine that. And they should rise more in 2026. Imagine that. I mean, I remember when people pulled a fire alarm to get out of an exam. I remember a case where some kids were taking a local network down to get out of standardized testing. So now targeting the SAS back end of the school may simply mean that the driver's ed teacher can't access the PowerPoint. So instead of a lecture on how to be a responsible driver, you end up watching I Am Joe's Duodenum for the third time. Duodenum. It's a fun word to say. But the driver's ed teacher is also the health teacher. Yeah. So they also let you watch, I Am Joe's, all kinds of bits. But anyway, I think this is definitely time that you need to start thinking about all your data flows, not just data, but what are the dependencies of all these flows? I mean, if Office 365, FreshBooks, and the robotic autonomous sawmill ethics module all fail tomorrow, what do? Can you go back to the old ways quickly? But don't worry, AutoRoboNoKill.com should be back online in 3 to 5 days with a patch that stops all the killing and bloodbathing. Yeah. AutoRoboNoKill.com. I'll go license that domain later, unless Larry gets it first. Now, I couldn't resist a story about CES. So CES is a mainstay in Las Vegas in January, and it literally, I think it ends today, and nobody sent me to cover it, so I wasn't there. But according to this story, AI was the only thing that mattered at CES this year. AI toothbrushes that take pictures of your gums and mouth. Not making it up. I'm telling you, I'm not making any AI toilets that take pictures of, toileting. I mean, we are in full marketing consumption mode for AI at this point. And understand, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not an early adopter either. I'm not like some of my friends who are like, I just got this. It's like the alpha version. I'm like, wow, is that like a AI enabled toothpick? And they're like, yeah, a couple of people died, but I'm going to try it. But I mean, not that I can afford any of this stuff either. The friends I'm talking about have apparently a lot more money than I do, because they're always coming back going, look at this. And I'm like, yeah, I can't afford that. But how about a Kohler Numi 2.0 smart toilet that is around between $13,000 and $16,000 versus $500 for a nice basic commode? My mother always said commode. She said the word toilet was rude. She also told me that parsley was poisonous, but that's my mother. But anyway, companies have decided we need it. We want it, whether we want it or not, we're going to have it. And well, they've invested billions into it. So somebody better find a good use for it and quick. So we have AI enhanced toothbrush. It tracks where you brushed, how well you brushed, how long you brushed. It gives you suggestions for brushing, like, hey, you missed molar number 4. And it maps your mouth over time. So you've got a full, nice topographical map of your rotting mouth. But pretty soon there's just going to be like a little AI critter that crawls in your mouth while you sleep and cleans up, like a Roomba, but for your mouth. If you make that, I get 10%. You heard it here. So, but all this starts to lean back into that story previously, right? Now I can't even brush my teeth if the Wi-Fi is down. My toothbrush is just like, sorry. I'm like, that's going to be pretty scary, right? I mean, we might as well just run into the forest to start eating acorns or something, because we're all doomed. But I do think we need to think about this before you get sucked into a product that will require a lifetime subscription just so you can flush the $16,000 toilet. It does.
I'm sorry, Hal. I'm afraid I can't flush that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Dave, but this isn't going to work. I'm going to leave that there. But I mean, what if your toilet with 6 million forms of communication can upload pictures of your bits to an AI that can tell you that you might want to eat more fiber, has heat, massage, and 16 conversation modes, as well as speakers, a disco ball, an AI DJ, water heater, and you can voice order more KFC from DoorDash while you use it. Well, I mean, how many vulnerabilities does this represent, and how many directions does it go? And we just install them in the entire company. And be sure you include all the risks that arise from the need for cloud connections, Wi-Fi connections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now you can't even open the commode lid because the internet is down, and you end up using a Home Depot bucket that may have contained rat poison, lead, dust, and red dye number 2. Red dye number 2. They just can't make lunch meat taste quite right without it. I mean, I know you die, but come on. This is a weird story. I'm going to stop. All right. 2 malicious Chrome extensions were found to be exfiltrating browser data and user conversations with ChatGPT and DeepSeek, according to OX. These things were impersonating legitimate extensions, so typical, and they were impersonating extensions from AI-topia, and the 2 malicious ones had over 900,000 downloads. Now, one of these is called ChatGPT for Chrome with GPT-5, Claude, Sonnet, and DeepSeek AI, and the other one is called AI Sidebar with DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Claude, and more. Neither of them is any longer available in the Chrome Web Store, but if you downloaded them, well, so according to the article, the extensions were abusing Lovable, which is an AI-powered web dev platform, and they were hosting their infrastructure components there and using it to anonymize their activity. The legitimate AI-topia extensions are also scary, but legitimate. They allow users to chat with LLMs through a sidebar when you're visiting websites. I don't know. What do you think about this one, ChatGPT? I don't know, man. That looks pretty disgusting. Are you sure you want to watch that, man? Like, I do want to watch it. Or maybe you should watch it for me and tell me about it in a sexy voice. Okay, Dave. Oh, yes, Dave. Oh, wait. Yeah, you don't. I'm stopping that. But these are just copies, of course, of the legitimate ones, and they added some code to the basic things. So basically, what happens is it asks for your consent to harvest anonymous, non-identifiable analytics data, but you don't know what they're doing when you click OK to that. I mean, you agreed, and then this one basically steals a complete copy of your ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using conversation. Yeah. So, I mean, both on an enterprise and personal level, you might want to be careful with these extensions all the time for every reason, like most of us are already. But obviously, a lot of people want to know what you said to ChatGPT yesterday because, well, marketing, extortion, on and on. Your data and your quirks are valuable. I mean, they always have been, but now we have ways to get them, right? And we don't just get good, we get good ones now. Every little secret you share is another data point. And pretty soon, if my AI can model that people who like to look at mukbang videos, they like opossums, and they also purchase pork chops on a Wednesday, have an insurance policy for their cat, and drank a few too many sidecars on New Year's Eve, but they did that while they were working in their office on class lectures about firewalls, are 10% more likely to buy a new Mercedes if they get a 10% off coupon to Denny's. Well, that's priceless. So be careful out there because they are harvesting everything from your gums to your toes, and they want it all. They want to model it, and they want to use it to sell you stuff. If somebody did want to send me a new Mercedes, that would be fine. I'll let you model my gums. You can. I'll sit there while you do it. And just let me watch on a camera or something. That'd be cool. Nudification. Now, there was a term when I first saw it, I had to look it up. I was like, is that like a weird, archaic way to say you removed your clothing? Or, like, yes, you're going down to the nudification site. But no, I know what it is now, but it's been a thing since, it's really been a thing since people were copying the heads of celebrities onto like porn actors' bodies and just making, like fake nudes. And apparently there's just quite an industry around celebrity nudity and other people's nudity because I guess celebrity nudity is better than normal nudity. I'm not sure. Don't search for Margaret Hamilton porn. I'm telling you, don't do it, man. You'll be sorry. But I mean, I don't know. maybe your AI toothbrush is listening to your brain waves and figuring out what you want to look at. But there are people who are strongly opposed to nudification sites. I agree with them, and they're strongly opposed to deep fake porn and so forth. So the UK government is urging the Ofcom office, which is their version of the FCC, and they urge the Ofcom regulator to use all of its powers against X, because Grok, the XAI, has been removing clothing from images of people and children. Now, Grok, when confronted with this, we did a story about this last week. Grok basically said, "Bite me, snowflakes," when they confronted it, and I guess that's just where they stand. But nobody seemed to care about the explicit photos of Harold Wilson being shown, though. But you don't want to search for that either. But it's easy to say, well, who cares? It's not real. But I mean, do you really want pictures of you out there, real or not? I mean, most people don't. Some people do, but most people don't. So basically, Ofcom regulates communications in England, and a lot of this started with images of children being generated by Grok, including child abuse and so forth. And there has been a lot of pushback against X about all this for a while, but so far their policy's been, hey, deal with it. I think that was actually what Grok said, deal with it. But it is illegal to share deep fakes of adults in the United Kingdom. And it's illegal to share any material involving child abuse or anything like that. Real, fake, AI generated, doesn't matter. It's all illegal. So I don't know. I mean, when you think about this, just think about how your family would react if there was a deep fake of you starring in Behind the Green Door or something. Sorry, I don't know any modern porn movies. That's a really old porn movie from like the 70s, I think. But it is a complicated issue in some ways, but it almost shouldn't be, but it is. Speaking of somebody who made a lot of pornographic movies in the 70s before becoming a lifestyle guru, the man who needs no deep fakes, it's Josh, Mr. Porn, Marpet. Happy New Year, Josh.
Hello, Dr. Doug the Pervert White. How are you, sir?
I'm perverted as ever.
No joke.
Preverted even.
You got some great stories. I love the one about AI and how there was some great stuff at CES, even aside from the AI. But I got to tell you, AI is causing a lot of problems. There's a fascinating point by the Cloud Security Alliance about how AI and zero trust are really they're having some issues. And I want to do a really quick overview of those issues. There's two really big issues here with AI and zero trust. One is that, and let's define this for a second. Zero trust, a big part of it is having every connection between every module, every chunk of your systems be the same. So if you've got a data storage module and a data processing module, the connection between them should be a secure, encrypted, instrumented API with an authentication barrier, right? Okay, cool. If that's the case, how does the AI get through that? Oh, but AI is just a non-human identity, which is a fancy name for a service account, right? Yes and no. The AI that are happening these days are agentic. They actually are able to take actions other than the robotic. It's not just the robot from before where go get this data, bring it back. Go get this data, bring it back. Go get this data, bring it back. It's go get this data, process it, do something with it, and depending on what you find, do various things with that. So these non-human identities have much more ability than we're used to with the old service accounts, okay? And so when I give them service account privileges, are the non-human identity methodologies of invoking those privileges or managing those privileges or limiting those privileges and permissions enough? Secondly, agentic AI takes your identity with it. What? Well, if I ask a question of an AI assistant, an agentic AI assistant, and go, hey, can you find this out for me? They go and find that data. And let's say it's across an API. Cool, no problem. If it's across that API, are they carrying my credentials with them in order to access the data that they need to get access to for me? So what's the ferry proposition here? Are they ferrying my credentials with them? And if the answer is yes, they are taking your credentials with them to use them, then I'm having my credentials used in ways that I don't know about. Now, there's things like SSO and other things that make that happen. But in this case with zero trust, that's subverting authentication barriers. Or it could be used that way, I should say. And so with those two issues, with non-human identities having much more ability than the old service accounts did. So actually, I kind of like the new name of it because now it's a little more descriptive, and I can use that to separate the two sort of classes of ways that information is gathered. And also when you've got the ferry problem, which is they're ferrying my identity, my credentials along with them to gain access to information. Are they doing things that A, I don't know about, or B, due to the fact that it's an agentic AI that has some instructions, not necessarily the ones I gave it? And are they using my identity to do things that I may not be cool with? In which case, can I be blamed for them? Oh boy. So this entire article is about, hey, look, AI is great. There's good stuff in AI. There's some fantastic things that AI can do for zero trust. Don't get me wrong. But there are these big issues that are really problematic using agentic AI in a zero trust environment that are going to subvert the entire raison d'etre, the entire reason that zero trust is around. So with that in the mix, we've got a real problem of making sure that we're doing authentication barriers that lock non-human identities down to what they're supposed to only do, which means you've got to hold a very tight line on identity and access management, entitlement review, permissions, things like that. And as well, if it's ferrying my credentials down to some module of data processing, data storage, whatever, you again hold the line on IAM and entitlement review, because it may be ferrying my credentials, but if I haven't specifically authorized it to use my credentials for XYZ actions, nope, not a happening gig. Which means we've got to hold a much tighter line on IAM, entitlement review, and authentication and authorization as well. And frankly, most enterprise companies, they're not up to that yet. They're just not. And I'm talking, by the way, big, big companies. If you're a small company, like there's no flipping way. If you're a big company, most of them aren't there yet, very honestly. So it's tough. This is going to be a big, big problem as federal regulations are starting to mandate zero trust. There are zero trust initiatives across most federal agencies. As state agencies are starting to take that in and use it as well, the federal government tends to lead the way in that sense. And so large corporations, defense contractors, state and local and educational, the SLED market, they're taking those in. This is going to filter down. What's that going to mean for zero trust? What's that going to mean for authentication, authorization, and accountability? What's that going to mean for how we interface agentic AI with all of our networks and infrastructures and us? Interesting stuff. Doug, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Josh. I agree. I think that's where your big policy initiatives need to be right now. I mean, just looking at how do we protect all this and how do we protect ourselves, because it's very easy to jump on the AI bandwagon and just say, hey, let's slap this in everything we got. And I've seen companies doing that left and right and just saying, encouraging employees to use AI,
For
interfaces
everything.
and so forth. And without, in my opinion, a true understanding of what the threat vectors are in that, because we just don't understand that space. I don't understand that space currently. I'm trying to get a grasp on it, but I'm scared to death of it. So thank you. Privacy, a strange concept. We value it. We want it, but we also readily click OK. If we want something, we just give it away. Like, I really want to watch this 5-minute video. Okay. I mean, the law is complicated too, though, and it varies wildly from place to place, from country to country, even from locales inside of countries. Different states have different rules, different cities have different rules, and on and on and on. The United States has the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, which sort of protects you from the government, sort of. Protects you from law enforcement invading your privacy without good cause. They have to get warrants and all this kind of stuff. But even then it's complicated. For citizens, it's really complicated. So in 2002, a person named Brian Fleming in Detroit, Michigan, created a product with another person called PC Tattletale, which you may not have heard of this, but I knew about it because of the old private investigator days. And PC Tattletale was a tool to monitor phone and computer usage. So obviously private investigators are pretty interested in this because a lot of the work they do is about, cheating spouses and people, moving money offshore and all that kind of stuff. But basically this thing would gather up things that happen on the device, on a phone particularly, and it would upload it as a video to a server that they controlled, and then the subscriber could view it. So the legal idea, so the premise was that parents wanted to monitor their children, what their children were doing with their phones. Employers wanted to monitor their really sad employees. Boy, it must be fun to work there. We'll be putting this on your phone. But I mean, I can see legit reasons too. But I mean, can you imagine if your parents tracked every move you made? Oh my God. They didn't have cell phones when I was around. My dad wasn't up there going, they didn't have car monitoring either, or Find My Friends, and my dad going, why were you parked down there by the golf course for 4 hours last night? Oh, we were looking for lost golf balls, Dad. I mean, it was 3 a.m., but they're better. It's easier to find them at night. They're white. Yeah. But this software, allegedly, according to their materials, helped parents stop their kids from meeting with pedophiles and all kinds of things. But this week, 25 years later, Fleming pled guilty in federal court to have knowingly built and marketing software to spy on other adults without their consent. Now, again, that's a tricky business, but where this went on. Now, the software was always a kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, catch your partner cheating, sexting, doing whatever. And that was certainly an a piece of that private investigation market of like, I think my spouse is cheating. I used to get calls for that. I don't want to do those cases. I did digital cases, but then this came up. Marketing materials for this company in 2021 specifically mentioned catching cheating spouses and had instructions on how to get into their phones, recommendations that you do that while they were asleep, and how to install the software on their phone without their knowledge. It was very explicit. I was trying to imagine my wife putting this on my phone and spying on me in Las Vegas. Like, I wonder what he's up to. Oh, he sat in that alley for an hour. Then he went into the Monte Cristo cigar bar, got a sidecar, a La Roma de Cuba, Ni8mare, sat there for 1.5 hours, and then went back in the alley and smoked another cigar. But PC Tattletale was definitely something which was known to PIs and was used for this purpose. And, I even suggested it to someone once, a person who contacted me, my husband is cheating on me. And I was like, well, you might check out PC Tattletale. In 2022, their site specifically talked about catching your boyfriend cheating. Now, apparently Fleming, the owner and, head chef and bottle washer and whatever, was actually helping people do this by tech support. So you could call them and they'd walk you through it. Like, is he asleep? Is he asleep forever or just asleep, lightly? Okay, here's how we're going to do this. But PC Tattletale got hacked in 2024 and a lot of their data was leaked as well. So before you do this or use products like this, or help other people do this, you may want to keep it in mind that it may be very illegal where you're located and you may end up in court because you're spying on people without their consent. No matter what, how well you mean, we just wanted to keep an eye on Dad when he went, he was driving around by himself and we weren't sure if he was, still competent. Be careful. But anyway, that's the news. Thanks to all of you for watching. Happy New Year. Thank you, Josh. And I will see you next time on the Security Weekly News.